Hello everyone, welcome to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity Yoga, and we're going to continue answering questions from the jar. So I pulled a question out a few seconds ago, but I had issues with my timer, so I stopped. But I will start the timer again and take a deep breath. The goal here is to answer this question within a 10-minute time frame. Taking a breath and exhaling. Now the question I received was, what does this mean? Karma is like old software that you have written for yourself unconditionally. What does this mean? Karma is like old software that you have written for yourself unconditionally. Wow. So we're going to talk about karma again, and karma is something I like to talk about. Not that I understand it fully, but I do find it fascinating. And the questioner is referring to this karma as being like old software. Not only that, it's software that we have written or programmed for ourselves unconsciously. I guess that was the word I was saying, unconditionally, but now that I look at it, see the S, unconsciously. So karma is something we are doing, I guess, unconsciously. We are writing the script for our lives, the programming. That means what data we take in and what the mind does with the data we take in and how we respond to that data unconsciously. So that's what karma is. People have this mistaken idea that karma is all about reward and punishment for the things we do right or wrong in life. But it really isn't. It's just a very valuable learning tool that we are all equipped with, that we all have the right to program or write, a script we are able to write. We can do so unconsciously or consciously. Most of us do so unconsciously, meaning that it is our reactivity and our reactions to what life gives us that often lead to the karmic effect. For example, if I am reacting to the weather on my birthday or my wedding day is not perfect, it's not the way I assume or expect it should be, then I am going to I could have an unconscious reaction. In my programming, I have this core belief that life, first of all, is here to serve this idea I have of little me. Another core belief I have is that nothing is going to go right for this little me, as I wrote this script about nothing going right for little me way back when I was a child, and it rained on my birthday cake on my birthday. So now I have this idea that the weather is out to get me on my special days. Therefore, that is why it is raining on my wedding day, for example. And it is all about nothing, this even deeper core belief about nothing working out the way I think it should. So that right there is some programming. So the programming originated way back when I was a child with my samskara about having this somewhat traumatic response to the fact that it rained on my birthday. And so I've stored that emotionally charged memory inside me, and not liking the feeling I had then, considering it to be unpleasant, something I do not want to repeat, I advertently probably tried to push it away or resist it. What I was trying to do was get it out of my conscious awareness. I didn't want to have to deal with it consciously at the time. And that's why we do what Freudians would refer to as suppress and repress. We're pushing away, but what we're really doing is pushing down away from conscious awareness, away from me having to actually deal with it. I don't feel I can deal with it mentally and emotionally, so I'll push it down below that level of awareness where I would have to deal with it. That's suppression and repression. So that created a bit of data or programming in my, what we call it karmic programming. Now my mind is going to react whenever something similar comes up that reminds me of that painful experience I have pushed inside, that supports this core belief I have that nothing works out for me, especially the weather being out for me, or being out to get me. So every time something like this happens, I'm going to have a reactivation of that thing that I have stuffed back to conscious awareness. So I'm dealing with the weather on my wedding day, but I'm also dealing with the rain on my birthday when I was 5 years old. So I have the pain resurfacing from that, plus this unpleasant sensation that I judged as wrong, as something supporting my core belief that the weather's out to get me. So I have this very negative, unpleasant experiencing arising, and someone would just shout out, for example, oh, that's just karma. What we tend to think is that I've done something wrong to deserve this. I'm being paid back for something I did in this life or some other life, and that's why it's raining on my wedding day, why it's raining on my birthday, therefore why, and this is where the assumption comes in, and we generalize in our assumptions, why weather is always out to get me. It's a karmic consequence to something I have done. We know karma is the cause and effect of action, do we not? So what action did I partake in? When in reality, all that is happening is that nobody else, life didn't do anything wrong back when I was 5 years old. It just happened for billions of reasons that had nothing to do with me, rain on the day that I called my birthday. And I reacted to that then in a way that was, not wholesome or skillful in the long run. I stuffed and stored. I repressed. I created some script, some software programming in my body, so that every time something like that happened again, I was going to have this activation of the samskara from deep inside, that memory with the emotionally charged energy around it. I was going to experience that again, and I had to deal with the thing that was happening right at the time. So that's a very unpleasant experience. What does the mind tend to do with that when that happens? It just says, oh gosh, I can't handle this. So once again, we're using those hands, and of course that's just a very figurative term, pushing down the painful old memory again, as well as stuffing on top of that this new experience of it raining on my wedding day. So I have the painful experience of it raining on my birthday and all the programming around that, the story I created around that about the weather being out against me, I must have done something wrong, did I deserve this, whatever story I created around it. And on top of that, I just stuffed this experience of whatever I'm feeling, disappointment, shame because I think I'm somehow responsible for it, anger, frustration with life for making it rain on my birthday. So I've stuffed that on top. This is karmic programming. That's all it is. All karma is basically is our reactivity to life, what we assume and expect life to be, and what it actually is often, not correlating. So we have this a sense of disturbance inside. And the more disturbed we are, the more we tend to stuff and store, and therefore the more we tend to react when life hands us similar things or even different things, as life does, without any intention from life to make our lives difficult. It's not the weather out to get me, obviously, but in my mind I've stored this idea that it is, and it's that keeps getting reactivated. It is that is karma. It's not life getting back at me for anything I've done. It is all about what I wrote in the script I call my life. It's all about what I programmed by stuffing and storing and clinging to and averting those things I did not want to experience in my experience. And that's basically what is happening. It's not reward and punishment for what I've done. It's what I've created. It's just my emotional or inner life being acted out in reality. It's my resistance of what is, my resistance of reality that has been causing these samskaras, and therefore, in a sense, causing my karma. If when I was 5 years old and it rained on my birthday, I may have felt a great deal of unpleasant sensations, but if it wasn't to the point where I was saying, I can't handle this, I would allow the disappointment and the, anger or whatever it was with life, the frustration, to come into my experience, and then, just as all things are meant to do, pass through my experience. But what I did was I clung to it by trying to push it away. I ended up clinging to it and bringing it back down into my experience, so that I didn't have to deal with it consciously. And when I did that, I created my own karma. I created my own experience. What's going to happen in the future is a result of what happened in the past, right? What I stored inside me as my samskara, as my idea of who I am, and my need to protect and preserve it through repression and suppression, so it's not uncomfortably activated by the events of life. It's not life that's doing it, it's my resistance to what is, my expectations and assumptions that life should be a certain way, and when they're not, we have activation of samskaras. But I wrote the whole karmic script, not life. I wrote it and I'm living it out. And so if I'm the writer, I can go back at any time and edit and revise what I've written, can I not? I can go back and work on those samskaras. First of all, discover where they are and what they are and where they come from. And then rewrite the script. Rewrite it so that it's not affecting me in the way it is now. So when we do that, is we release the energy surrounding the old story, and then we create a more positive story about it, and just naturally, and we're going to start with the stuff on top, the low-hanging fruit that's on top, that we're just stuffing constantly on top. Work with that first, the easy stuff, and just allow it to pass through and be rid of it. And then the old stored samskaras, which are a little deeper, will eventually come up. Our old karmic energy will eventually come up and be released, and we'll be free of not only samskaras, but be free of karma. We will not be affected by our reaction to life. Well, that is all I have to say. I went over my time again. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.